Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Samuel Akem here, and I'm back with another one. I appreciate you guys for tapping into another Akem'S analysis. I got a great video for you guys today. This video is brought to you exclusively by Sportsbet Montana. Sportsbet Montana is the exclusive betting partner of Akem'S analysis and the Samuel Akem YouTube channel. They are also Montana's exclusive sports book for all your sports betting needs. Get tapped in with all the odds, spreads, or featured bets through Sportsbet Montana today. Your game, your bets, your state, powered by the Montana Lottery. Today is going to be a super great video. We got some really good games to talk about. First and foremost, we're talking about Montana versus Sacred Heart. Sacred Heart is 5-2. Montana is undefeated at 6-0. So we will talk about that game. Then we got Montana. Then we got Northern Colorado versus Sac State. That is a very exciting game. I believe it's the Big Sky game of the week. Northern Colorado's 3-3. Sac State is 3-3. Both are 1-1 in conference play. Exciting things are happening, man. Next, we will talk about North Dakota versus Southern Illinois. One team still controls their destiny in the Missouri Valley. The other team necessarily does not. So both are 4-2. Both are looking decently well this season, but we will see after this game. I think that game will tell a lot. Next, we got Illinois State versus Youngstown State. Both, once again, I would relate this game to UND versus Southern Illinois, Illinois State versus Youngstown State. Like, both teams, neither of them control their destiny in the Missouri Valley Conference, but both still have playoff aspirations. I think both still could be playoff teams, so we will get into that. Finally, we got Tarleton State versus West Georgia. Tarleton State has taken a lot of heat. Their previous opponent's record is not strong. I think it's like 6-21. As well as they just haven't played good competition. They are a little banged up, but they have been beating up on teams. They did allow, I can't remember who they played. I think it was Southern Utah that put up like 40 on them. So statistically, they score high in a lot of the metrics in the UAC conference, but they haven't really played anybody, so they should be statistically, they should be where they are currently in the conference, but this is going to be a huge test for them. So we'll get into that. And then we got some no huddle notes at the end. I know by the time this video has dropped, the playoff projections would have already dropped. I don't get a chance to talk about that because I do record these on Wednesday. I'm actually recording this on Tuesday because of scheduling. I'm going on the road. So, hey, life happens. I know, I can't talk about the playoff projections. So, hit the like, hit the subscribe. Make sure you guys leave me a comment down below, and we will get straight into it. Okay, Montana versus Sacred Heart. Sacred Heart has looked like a good football team, but also they haven't really played anybody. So Sacred Heart is 5-2. They've lost to Lehigh, who is 7-0, and then they also lost to Central Connecticut, who is, I believe Central Connecticut got the AQ out of the NEC last year. But a lot of what Sacred Heart's schedule looks like is a lot of NEC teams. They play Stonehill, they play Long Island, they play Connecticut, they play New Haven, they play Merrimack. So although they are an FCS independent now, they play a ton of NEC teams still. So that is something to pay attention to. But also another thing that I wanted to look at is like, yes, they're 5-2, but look at the scores of the game. First game of the season, Stonehill, they won 12-7. Next game, they lost to Lehigh 28-10. Next game, they played Long Island. They won 24-21. Next game, they played Norfolk State. They won 31-28. And the reason I'm mentioning these scores is because Stonehill is near defeated, I believe. And also, Merrimack is an FCS independent. They're not an NEC team. I see them right there, but they're 3-4. But Lehigh's undefeated. Long Island, I believe, is like, not 500, below 500. I believe Norfolk State is below 500. Delaware State, I believe, is like right at 500. Central Connecticut, I believe, is 4-3. But they played like a lot of, I think they played some FBS teams, and a lot of those NEC teams, they don't have a ton of money. So a lot of those NEC teams are playing heavy FBS schedules. I mean, you saw Mercyhurst wasn't playing heavy FBS schedule, but Mercyhurst was just playing a ton of heavyweights at the FCS level. And then Howard, who I believe they're MEAC, but I think are they MEAC or are they, I'm thinking of North Carolina A&T, who plays in the CAA, but Howard, MEAC, and then Delaware State's also MEAC, but they beat them by 4, and then they beat Howard by, we'll say 2 scores, 2-3, they 32-14. I don't want to do that math right now, but so they look good. 5-2 is a good record, and they could potentially finish the season above, 500. They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 FCS wins. They win at New Haven, they get 6. They win at Merrimack, they get 7. They finish the season off of Villanova. I mean, their schedule looks good, and they could potentially have a playoff resume. The thing that would have hurt Sacred Heart is they're not going to have enough ranked wins. Or, I mean, they might not have one ranked win on their schedule, so that's really going to hurt their resume. They're probably not going to make the playoffs, but we'll see. I mean, the Grizz are favored by 30.5 through Sportsbet Montana, and this team can run the ball. I had to look up national numbers for this Sacred Heart team because they're not in a conference, so I can't just look up their conference rankings. A lot of times with the numbers, I'm looking at where the teams rank within their conference. But nationally, Sacred Heart ranks 17th in the country in rushing offense at 207.7 yards a game. That's really what they do the best. They're really good on third down on offense and defense as well. But anytime you're looking at numbers of a football team, you always think like, how much does the competition they've played play into those numbers? Like, how much does playing Stonehill and playing Stonehill and playing Norfolk State and playing Long Island, like how much does that play into you having the number 17 rushing offense in the country? Like last week they played Howard, their running back rushed for 243 yards, but how good is Howard? I mean, I don't know. But on third down, they're the number 11 third down offense in the country. They're converting 48% of their third downs, which is very, very good, near 50%. So flip a coin on if they're going to convert their third down or not. That's really good. And then also on third down defense, they're number 5 in the country in third down defense, for third down conversion percentage defense. Offenses convert 27.6% of their third downs when they play against Sacred Heart. That is staggering. That means 3 out of 10 third downs, teams are converting less than 3 out of 10 third downs when they face off against this Sacred Heart team. Just really, really good. But also, Montana's good on third down as well within the conference. Montana's converting 44% of their third downs offensively, and teams convert 34.8% of their third downs off defensively. On Montana's defense, teams convert 34% of their third downs. So, I mean, if we look at the conference numbers, Montana's got the number 1 scoring offense at 40 points a game. They got the number 2 passing offense at 296.7 yards a game. So they can air it out. Number 3 in scoring defense. They're number 3 in rushing offense, and they're number 3 in rushing defense. Those are all per the Big Sky Conference. But I think this could be a game for Eli Gilman. And I put this in my notes. This is a game for Eli Gilman to leave no doubts that he is the best running back in the country. Sacred Heart is near one of the worst teams in the country in stopping the run, and I think that benefits Eli Gilman. Like, I think if Eli Gilman were to ever make a potential Walter Payton Award case, if he were ever to make an Offensive Player of the Year case for the Big Sky Conference, any case he's going to make for any postseason award, any case he's going to make to any NFL scouts, I think this is the game where he really puts himself on the map. And I'm talking 200 plus rushing yards on the ground. I think this could be the day. When you look at the numbers rushing and when you look at the defensive numbers of this Sacred Heart team, they're number 63 in the country in total defense. Mind you, there's about 130 teams in the FCS. So at 63, they're near middle of the FCS. But then you look at the rushing defense. They allow 189.1 yards per game on the ground. They're number 96 in rushing defense in the country. In the country. Yes, you heard me correct. They're number 96 in the country in rushing defense. Remember, 130 teams in the FCS, they rank number 96 in rushing defense, as well as in passing offense. And passing defense is number 32, allowing 189.9 yards per game. So maybe an opportunity for Ayat to have maybe not so great of a game, but also how much is that number predicated on who they've played? Keep that in mind. But then they're number 100 in passing offense. So they run the ball at a high level. They're number 17 in the country in rushing offense. Passing offense at 168.1 yards per game, they're not very strong. So when you think about this Montana secondary, when you think about how maligned they've been, how beat up they've been by the media, by myself, by people who talk about and watch this Montana football team. Now, they did have a really good game last week. The defense came up with 4 interceptions. The secondary, I believe, had 2 of those interceptions by way of Kenzel Lawler and Prince Ford. Will you get back to, what will that look like this week? I think this is an opportunity for the defense to really, really gain some confidence. Not only, I just think this is a game for the Montana defense to really, really constrict somebody the way they did that Cal Poly defense in the second half. Like, if you're somebody who's paying attention to Montana, if you're somebody who's looking at this Montana team, what you would like to see from this Montana team, as well as myself, I want to see a full game from this Montana team. You see against the North Dakota game, they're slow, but they come back in the second half and get the victory. You see in the Idaho State game, they're slow, they come back in the second half and get the victory. You see in the Cal Poly game, they're slow, they come back in the second half and get the victory. as somebody who pays attention to this team, as somebody who is debating and questioning on if this team is a national championship contender, if they can win the Big Sky, if they can beat the Bobcats, you want to see a full game from this team. You want to see them play wire to wire, be the best team on the field. You want to see them play good offensively. You want to see them play good defensively. You want to see them play good on special teams. I mean, that's what I want to see, and that's what I think we could see this week from this Montana team. Do they win by 30? I don't know if they necessarily can win by 30. I think they can win by 30. Will they win by 30? I don't know. But I think they have a chance to really, really beat up on this Sacred Heart team. Yeah, I mean, the Sacred Heart team hasn't really played anybody. Coming into Missoula is no easy task at all. But I also think this could potentially be a game where a lot of the people decided to take their vacations. People may decide to stay home. They might not want to get out. I mean, obviously, anybody wants to come to Washington Grizzly and watch a game. But if there were ever a game for a fan to miss, talk about a game to miss. Now, watch, I say that, and it ends up being an instant classic. But I think we could see some empty stands. I mean, last week, even on homecoming, there were some empty spots in the stands. So, and they still had over 26,000 fans. So I think they're going to challenge Montana's rushing defense. I think that's going to be a big challenge for Montana. But I think Montana needs a test like this because if you think about who they play next week, they play Sac State. Sac State is the #1 rushing offense in the conference, and they're one of the top rushing offenses in the country. Their rushing offense has been firing on all cylinders. So if you were ever to get a test for this Montana football team, it's a perfect test from Sacred Heart, a team that wants to run the ball, and you're going to start playing some teams that really, really want to run the ball. You play Sac State next week. You play Montana State coming up in a few weeks. Actually, they don't play them for another 6 weeks, but they play Montana State later on in the season. And if you want to be a good, strong run-stopping defense, you need to get tested in that ability. So I don't think Montana's been bad at it. They got the #3 rushing defense in the conference at 152.7 yards per game. But, you really need that staple game to really show who you are. So that's Montana versus Sacred Heart. Those are the numbers. I think Montana wins this game big. I think Montana beats down on Sacred Heart. I don't know if they cover the 30.5. I don't know if I would give them that just because the only reason I say I don't know if they cover the 30.5 is because I know how up and down this team has been. And if you see a game where one side of the ball isn't firing in that first half, you could see Sacred Heart hang around a little bit. And then in that second half, obviously Montana's probably, if Montana were to start going and they win, I don't know. Will they be able to stretch the lead to 30? I don't know. I'm just saying I don't know if they cover the 30 just because I've seen them play this year and they have been very up and down. So we will see. I got Montana winning. And I think it could be a game for the defense to show up, the secondary to show up, for Eli Gilman to show up. But obviously we don't know yet. So we will see. You guys let me know what you think about that in the comments down below. And I will move on. Built Montana strong, just like your team. L&M Fine Jewelry in Missoula and Kalispell. Classic pieces, crafted with grit, family owned since day one. L&M Fine Jewelry is the official jeweler of Akem'S Analysis and the Samuel Akem YouTube channel. Make sure you guys go check them out anytime you're looking for that special ring for that special person in Missoula on American Way or on Main Street in Kalispell. Let L&M Fine Jewelry be your diamond destination. Okay, next we are talking about the Big Sky game of the week. Northern Colorado is taking on Sac State, man. Sac State. They're taking on Sac State. I don't even know if that's a home game or an away game. I don't have it pulled up right in front of me. I had the Big Sky. Is it right here? Yes, it is. So I believe they're going to Sac State to play Sac State in Sacramento, California. But I don't know, man. I think both teams are still in the playoff hunt. Northern Colorado's in the playoff hunt, but they play Montana State. They play UC Davis. They play NAU. NAU is a very winnable game. I think, maybe UC Davis could be a winnable game for them. I don't know. But this is the first note I put on here. Northern Colorado has the opportunity to do the funniest thing ever. What is that funny thing? A perennial JV team, a perennial team that can't get right at the JV level, beating the varsity team of all varsity teams in Sac State. I think this is the opportunity for Northern Colorado to get, Northern Colorado got a really big win last week. They got a ranked win on the road against Idaho. There's no more marquee win than that win. But Northern Colorado has a chance to say, hey, last week wasn't a fluke. We are here for real, and go in and get a win in Sacramento, man. They got the #2 scoring defense at 21.7 points per game. They got the #2 passing defense at 185.8 yards per game, and this is in the conference, in the Big Sky Conference. And then they got the #2 third down conversion percentage defense at 31.2%. So defensively, this Northern Colorado team is very strong, but one place where they lack at, Rushing defense, they're ninth in the country in the conference at 195.7 yards per game. So when you talk about facing the number one rushing offense in the Big Sky Conference in Sac State, that doesn't bode well for you. That doesn't really bode well for you. Cardell Williams is a monster. I know Eric Gibson Jr. is a good player. I like him. I think he's a difference maker. But Cardell Williams, that boy. I mean, when they inserted him in this offense for Sac State, I really think the offense took off. I don't know why he wasn't the day one starter given what that go-go offense is. Triple option. Quarterback has to be involved in the run game for it to be effective. And it didn't really just look like Jaden Rashada was that guy. Now, what I think happened at Sac State, I don't have any confirmed reports. I don't know this to be fact at all. But I think why they started Jaden Rashada, despite what that offense is at Sac State, I think it was the money. I think they paid Jaden Rashada a certain amount of money, and it's like, hey, we're paying you starter money, so no matter what, you're going to be our starter. Even knowing that he is not the best guy for that offense. I remember when they recruited Cardell Williams, I remember thinking to myself, that is the guy for that go-go offense. That is Brendan Marion's guy. He's a runner. He can throw it. Yes, he can throw it, and he's had some really, really good throws this year, but he uses his legs at a high level. I think he rushed for I think he had 100 plus. He had 130 last week and 2 rushing touchdowns. He had a really big game last week. But Cardell Williams is a player. He's a player to watch for. But this Northern Colorado defense, do not sleep on them. Only one team has scored above 30 points on Northern Colorado this year. Let me show you their scoring chart. Chadron State, they won 17-3. Colorado State, they lost 21-17. South Dakota, they lost 24-17. Houston Christian, they won 26-23. Idaho State, they lost 26-18. And then Idaho, they won 49-33. So Idaho is that only team that scored over 30 on them, but they won that game. In a shootout, when they needed to score more than the opposition, they won that game. But then you look at a lot of their games, they're around 20 points. So this is a good defensive team. Northern Colorado is a good defensive team. And that is probably what has carried them so far this season, what has carried them to that 3-3 record, what has kept them in so many games. That's probably what kept them in Colorado State, what kept them in the South Dakota State game, or the South Dakota game, and as well as what kept them in the Idaho State game. I mean, when you look at some of their losses, Idaho State was a very, very winnable game for Northern Colorado. South Dakota was a very, very winnable game for Northern Colorado, and just for some reason, they didn't come down with the win. Sac State is good at stopping the pass, and UNC is good at passing it. Something is going to give in this game. Northern Colorado is the number 4 passing offense in the Big Sky Conference, and Sac State has the number 3 passing defense in the Big Sky Conference. So they allow 194.8 yards per game through the air, and Northern Colorado gets 264.7 yards per game through the air. So something's got to give. Another thing that stands out to me about this Northern Colorado team, they're number 2 in sacks allowed. So they're really good at protecting the quarterback. They're behind Idaho State, who's only allowed 2 sacks on the season on their quarterback. Northern Colorado's only allowed 4. So something's got to give there as well, because Sac State is the number 1 pass rushing team in the conference. They got 24 sacks. They're ahead by, I think, 4 to 6 sacks on the conference. Actually, I can pull it up right here. Where is it at? It's right here. No. I think I close it down. I don't have it in front of me. Of course, when I need it, I don't have it in front of me. But Sac State is the number 1 sack team in the conference by a healthy margin. They got a lot of good pass rushers on that defense, and Northern Colorado doesn't give up sacks. So who is going to win this matchup? I think this is going to be a very close game. I think it's going to come down to the last couple of possessions. I think Sac State probably has should be favored in this matchup. I haven't looked at any sports books on any spreads on where this game is at, but I feel like Sac State should be favored in this game, but I think it should be like 2.5. Like, what do they give? I don't know exactly what they say about, we're giving this team 2.5 or 3.5 because they're the home team, but I would call this game a pick'em. Whether it's 2.5, 1.5, 3.5, I would call this game a pick'em. Like, toss a coin up, wherever it lands, that's what team's going to win. Because I think if you have these teams play 10 different times, I think each team's going to win five of the matchups. So Northern Colorado, Sac State, it's going to be a very, very exciting game. I cannot wait to watch the game, not only because the excitement level about Northern Colorado is picking up, but also Sac State is playing good football. They've looked good. It's just Sac State, the thing about Sac State this season is consistency. They've been so inconsistent in everything. They've just been inconsistent. They'll win one week and they'll look really good, and then the next week they'll lay an egg. And then like Nevada, they probably should have beat Nevada. And then I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to think about this team right now. I sincerely do not know what to think about this team right now, but I know the game this week is going to be very, very exciting. So I cannot wait You guys let me know what you think about this Northern Colorado versus Sac State game down below, and I will move on. Okay, next game we're talking about is North Dakota versus Southern Illinois. One team still controls their playoff destiny. The other team, or not even their playoff destiny. One team still controls their MVFC destiny. The other team does not. Southern Illinois already has a loss to North Dakota State, so they no longer control their destiny. But North Dakota is still undefeated in MVFC play, so they, to an extent, control their destiny. Man, North Dakota has looked really good. They got the number 2 scoring offense in the Missouri Valley. They got the number 1 rushing defense in the Missouri Valley. That is over North Dakota State. So, and Southern Illinois has the number 2 rushing offense in the Missouri Valley Conference. That is behind North Dakota State. So, like I just said against Sac State and Northern Colorado, something's got to give. You got the number 1 rushing defense. You got the number 2 rushing offense. Who will be the better unit in this game? I personally think North Dakota is the better team. I think Southern Illinois is a good team. I don't think they're a great team. I think Southern Illinois could even get in as a playoff team, but I think they're like a first or second round exit playoff team. And that's not to poo-poo on Southern Illinois. I think they're a good football team. Maybe even they make it to the quarterfinals, but I don't think they get past the quarterfinals. On the other end of things, I think North Dakota could seriously threaten for that Missouri Valley Football Conference title, and I think they could seriously threaten for a deep playoff push, maybe even a semifinal or national championship team. Now, North Dakota State looks like a wagon. Both teams are going to come to Grand Forks, and we'll talk about that game when those games come up. But North Dakota, I like North Dakota. They're the number 3 scoring defense in the Missouri Valley Football Conference. I need you guys to understand how ridiculous this is. North Dakota is allowing 18.8 points per game. In every other conference in the country, that would probably be near number 1, if not the number 1 defense in the conference. And they're the number 3 scoring defense in the Missouri Valley because you got South Dakota State and because you got North Dakota State. Let's look at the numbers right here. Let's actually see where. So North Dakota State is number 1. Oh, wait, is this defense? No, let's go scoring. North Dakota State is number 1 at 10.5 points a game, and South Dakota State is number 2 at 14.7 points a game. And then you got North Dakota at number 3. Just to give you guys an idea of where most teams land on this, let's look at the UAC conference because that's the one I had pulled up. Tarleton State is number 1 in that conference at 18.4 points a game. So, and even in that conference, UND would be number 2. But then the next one is West Georgia at 22 points a game. The third one is 24 points a game at Austin Peay, and Eastern Kentucky is 26. So, averaging under a defense holding opponents under an average of 20 points a game is huge. And North Dakota has done that. And the Missouri Valley Football Conference has 3 teams that are currently doing that. One, I would tell you guys to go look at the numbers at a lot of these conferences because once you start looking at the numbers, you start really realizing how ridiculous the Missouri Valley Football Conference is. A rising tide lifts all ships, and I think because North Dakota State has been so good for so long, as well as South Dakota State has been so good for so long, I think all the teams in the conference have just either sink or swim. Is it sink or swim? Yeah, sink or swim. But they've had to be better. They've had to get better at stopping the run. They've had to get better at recruiting. They've had to recruit bigger bodies. Like everybody's trying to match what NDSU is doing in that conference. You have to go through those teams if you're going to win that conference. So it's no surprise that a lot of the teams in that conference are good at stopping the run, are good at running the ball, have good quarterback play, and all have quarterbacks who can run the ball because that has been the blueprint that North Dakota State has used. In this particular matchup, I like Jerry Kaminsky. I like BJ Fleming. I like that offense. I like Seidel. I like all the pieces they have at North Dakota, and I think they can come out with a big victory against Southern Illinois, a ranked victory for North Dakota. I don't know if North Dakota even has a ranked victory right now. I think this would be their first ranked victory of the season, but it's one that North Dakota really needs, especially considering what happened in Montana and Missoula when North Dakota came down to Missoula. They had that game handled, man. They had that game handled, and Montana was able to come back. The defense started stringing together stops, and Montana stole one at home. They snatched victory out of the jaws of defeat because they were defeated, man, and Ayat made all the throws. What's his name? Brooks Davis made all the catches. So North Dakota really needs this win. The numbers tell me that North Dakota is one of the better teams in the Missouri Valley Football Conference. They're number 3rd in the conference in third down conversion percentage defense. And Southern Illinois is number 2 in the Missouri Valley Conference in third down conversion percentage offense. Southern Illinois is converting 53% of their third downs on offense. That is ridiculous. At 53%, and North Dakota holds defense. Their defense holds offenses to 32% of their third down conversion. So, like I said, something's got to give. Did I mention that Southern Illinois is the number 2 rushing offense, number 3 scoring offense at 39 points per game? So the numbers, both of these teams are pretty high in the numbers in the conference. But I think North Dakota has played stiffer competition. I think North Dakota has been tested more this season. And I think this is just yet another test for this football team. Let's look at the schedule in the Valley, what they got coming up this weekend. I just want to see where this game is at. So this game is in Illinois, so it's going to be a road game for North Dakota. We will see. I like North Dakota in this game. I really do like North Dakota in this game. But, you know, the only reason I say that is because I am of the belief that Southern Illinois had not been tested before they played North Dakota State. Now, how many teams can keep it close against North Dakota State? They lost 45-17. But even when you look at Illinois State, they only lost by, 16, 17? They only lost by 17 points. Southern Illinois losing by near 30 is not a strong look, especially for a team that was ranked in the top 10. I think they were 6 at the time that they played, 6 or 8, somewhere in there at the time. And, I mean, they just got embarrassed. And after that turnover late in the first half, it looked like they didn't even look back. It looked like they weren't even the same football team. I mean, they had been fighting, battling back and forth. And that's really what happens when you play North Dakota State is, you know, you everybody's got that energy at the beginning. But it's like North Dakota State's going to keep coming with that same intensity for 60 minutes. And it's if a team can match them. Southern Illinois could not match them. And I don't think they can match North Dakota either. So I got North Dakota in this game. The numbers look really good for North Dakota. That rushing number, their team, the number 1 rushing defense in the conference, that is big. If you cannot run the ball, and the reason I say that is because they're the number 1 rushing defense. Southern Illinois is the number 1 rushing offense. Something is going to be proven in this game. Now, DJ Williams is a really good player, so he's somebody who has to be game planned for. But North Dakota's got to do what they got to do to stop the run and make this offense one-dimensional. Force that quarterback to use his arm, and don't allow them to get anything on the ground. I think North Dakota comes out with the victory. If North Dakota is not able to hold up to that 95.5 yards per game metric in their rushing, Southern Illinois is going to have a field day. They're going to have a field day, and we will see what it looks like. But I like North Dakota in this game. Like I said, my last note, I like UND to win this game, but I think it will be low scoring and close. So I think North Dakota comes out with the victory, but I think it's like a 3 to 7 point victory at most. I think it's a really close game. I think these are two teams who I don't know. I think it'll be a close game. But I like North Dakota to win. So you guys let me know what you think about that in the comments down below, and I will move on. Okay, next I want to talk about Illinois State versus Youngstown State. I did not put their records on here. Shame on me. But both teams are over 5. Well, is Youngstown State over 500? I don't know. I'm not gonna guesstimate about that. But looking at the numbers, let me actually say this first. Illinois State and Youngstown State are both good. I put good in quotes. FCS football teams, but neither are elite. I would stand by that. I think they're both good. I think Illinois State could potentially be a playoff team. I don't know necessarily just based on where they sit and who they would play. If Youngstown State can make it, but I think both can make it. This game may be a big reason why one of these teams does or doesn't make the playoffs. 100%. I think whoever wins this game has definitely having another win helps you make it to the playoffs. But I mean, this is a ranked matchup for Youngstown State. They're playing a ranked opponent. I don't know necessarily, depending on what poll you're looking at, Youngstown State may be ranked. I don't know if they're ranked in the coaches poll. They just lost 2 straight. They lost to North Dakota State, and then they lost to North Dakota. So just by way of strength of schedule, just by way of who they're playing, I don't know if Youngstown State has enough to be able to get into the playoffs. Youngstown State ranks near the middle to bottom in most metrics in the Missouri Valley Football Conference. The best statistic they have is their passing offense. They're number 4 in the conference in passing offense at 224 yards per game. But everything else, they're near the middle. They're second to last in the conference in sacks. They only have 7 sacks on the season. But everything else, they're 6 or 5. 6 or 5. One, they're at 7 in passing defense. But then you look at Illinois State, they're near the middle to bottom as well. Passing defense, they're number 10 in passing defense. That's last in the conference. So Southern Illinois is at the bottom of the conference in passing defense. They're number 8 in scoring defense at 29.8 points per game. So teams have been putting up points. They're number 7 in rushing offense. So they're not the strongest rushing team within the conference. I mean, numbers both. I mean, I think this, just like I said about the North Dakota versus Southern Illinois game, I think this Illinois State versus Youngstown State game, it's going to be telling for both teams. I would lean towards Illinois State winning this game, but I think it's going to be a very, very, very close game. Number 6 scoring defense versus the number 8 scoring defense. Is that right? Scoring defense versus the number. Yeah. So number 6 scoring defense versus the number 8 scoring defense. I think there's a potential that this game ends up being a shootout. I think it could be close, but I think these guys are going to trade points. You got Tommy Rittenhouse and the boys on that side of Illinois State, and then you got Bo Brungard on the offensive side. He can use his legs, he can use his arm. Bo Brungard, I think, is going to have a field day. I think Bo Brungard is going to have a field day. I mean, you just got to look. Illinois State is number 10 in passing defense at 282.8 yards per game. Now, I believe Illinois State might have played like OU or something. They might have played. I know they played. I'm pretty positive they played an FCS opponent. I just can't remember who. But I mean, then you look. 8 in passing, number 10 in passing defense, number 8 in scoring defense. But they're number 4 in rushing defense. So they're only giving up 127.5 yards per game on the ground. That's good, not great. And this Youngstown State team wants to run the ball. This Youngstown State team wants to run the ball with their quarterback. They're going to run it with their running backs, and that is where their bread is buttered. So Illinois State's going to have to make a concerted effort to stop Bo Brungard. That is the key. You key in on Bo Brungard. He is what makes things go for this Youngstown State team. If you can stop him, I think you have a good chance of stopping this offense. But even if you don't stop him, I don't know if necessarily that is the end-all, be-all, because he had a really, really good game against South Dakota State, and they still lost that game. So Bo Brungard starts it for them, but obviously, even if he goes crazy, there are still things you can do to beat this team. So what I said on Bo Brungard is I said Bo Brungard will need to have a big game, but he also needs to be extremely efficient. So when passing the ball, you need to be near 75% completion percentage. You have to have a big game on the ground with your legs. He has to have a big game on the ground with his arm. But I think this is the game where both teams can put up a ton of points. I say 30 to 40 points for both teams, and I think we see a shootout. Now, I don't know. I mean, I'm not a freaking genie or anything like that, so I don't know if we'll see a shootout, but I think this could be one of those games where they're trading touchdowns and it comes down to the end where whoever has the ball last is going to win the game. This is an intriguing QB matchup with Tommy Rittenhouse taking on Bo Brungard. I think Bo is better, but now is the time for both to prove it. The main point that boils down for this Youngstown State versus Illinois State game, both have a potential to be playoff teams. Illinois State has a much stronger potential to be a playoff team than Youngstown State. Also, honestly, too, like, and that's why I should have had that's why I should have had their record pulled up in front of me. Because I don't know what they're 3-3. So Youngstown State is 3-3 with victories against Mercyhurst, Robert Morris, and Towson. They've lost to South Dakota State, North Dakota, and Michigan State. They play Illinois State this week. Then they play Murray State. Then they play North Dakota State. Then they play Southern Illinois, Indiana State, Northern Iowa. So I don't even know if Youngstown State can get up to enough wins to make the playoffs. But this game could be a game for them to show, like, hey, we're not a doormat. We're a decent team in the FCS, but I think I don't know if they can make the playoffs. But Illinois State lost a bad one to North Dakota State. I think this game is their opportunity to really show, like, hey, we lost that game. It was a close one, but we did lose. But we're not completely down and out. They're 4-2. They have losses against Oklahoma. Yep, I knew Illinois State played an FBS opponent. And then they have losses against North Dakota State. They play Youngstown State. Then they play South Dakota. Going to be a good game next week. Northern Iowa, Indiana State. So Illinois State already has 4 FCS wins. They get one this weekend. They get one next week. They get one the week after that. That's 7. Then they get Indiana State. That's 8. Then they potentially beat Southern Illinois. I'm keeping out South Dakota State out of this, but if they beat Southern Illinois, I mean, they can get 8 to 9 wins on the season. So they have a strong chance of making the playoffs. And Illinois State really needs a decisive win in this game to really propel themselves back into the. I mean, they're not. I think they're in the top 15 right now, but I really think they need a statement win. I think they had a bye last week, if I'm not mistaken, because they played Murray State and they won 46-32. Murray State putting up 32 points, not great, but they won 46-32, so they won. Now you're playing Youngstown State. I think they really need another statement win. This is a team that's receiving votes in the poll. This is a team that's a fringe, on the fringe of being ranked. They're ranked in some polls, not every poll. But Illinois State really needs a dominant win in this game. So I like Illinois State in this game, but I think Youngstown State is going to provide a lot of problems, particularly in the method of Bo Brungard. I think he's going to give them a lot of fits. But I like Illinois State in this game. So you guys let me know what you think about that in the comments down below, and I will move on. Okay, Tarleton State versus West Georgia. In my professional opinion, I think this could be the FCS game of the week. I don't think it is. I think there's another game that's FCS game of the week. I think I saw another game. I can't even find. I mean, this FCS slate this weekend is not strong. This actually might be the game of the week, but I don't think it is. I think there's another game that I saw that was the game of the week, and I was like, interesting. Like you got North Dakota, Southern Illinois, that could have been the game of the week. But all the games of the week, I think, have been in the Big Sky or the Missouri Valley, so they're probably trying to like switch it out. You got UT Rio Grande Valley and Lamar to be the game of the week. But this Tarleton West Georgia game might be the game of the week. I can't remember. I saw it this morning, but now I've forgotten. Either way, Tarleton State has looked really good. They are undefeated. They're 7-0. West Georgia is 5-2. They've lost their last 2 games. But this is an opportunity. This is an opportunity for both teams. Tarleton, they got to win this game. If they are who they say they are, they got to win this game, and they got to win this game decisively. They don't necessarily have to win it decisively. They need to win, bare minimum. But if they really are a contender, you need to see Tarleton State get a really, really dominant win. And this is they've gotten really dominant wins. Let me rephrase that. You need to see Tarleton State get a really, really dominant win against a good football team. Now, some might say, have we seen that from everybody else? Have you seen that from Montana? Have you seen that from Montana State? Have you seen that? No, not necessarily. But West Georgia's a good football team. Not great. They're good. They're close. They're getting close. Tarleton State, you're the number 3 team in the country. You got to win this game by 2 to 3 scores to really prove like, hey, we are not close. We definitely are that team that should be feared. Now, I do think Tarleton State is dealing with some injuries right now. I think they got some injured. Their quarterback was injured. I don't know if he still is, but I think, some of their running backs are injured. I think they're dealing with a lot of injuries. I think there's a lot of hurt players at Tarleton State. That's why them continuing to win is so big, because they have been beat up. So, sorry, I'm looking up Tarleton State on ESPN, but this is an opportunity, man. This is an opportunity, and Tarleton State needs to seize this opportunity. Who have they played? Let's look at who Tarleton State has played, why the conversation is where the conversation is, and then we'll get into the numbers. They beat Portland State 42-0. They beat Army. That is if you want to talk about wins propelling a team into the national conversation, that Army win immediately thrusted Tarleton State into the top 5, into the top 3. Like, people were already, once they beat Army, teams were talking about them like they're a contender, which they may still be a contender, but some of the things we've seen from this team don't necessarily back that up. But Portland State, they won 42-0. Army, they won 30-27. Mississippi Valley State, they won 59-3. Central Arkansas, they won 56-10. Chattanooga, they won 52-24. Southern Utah, they won 52-42. And that was really the game where people were like, is this team really that good? I mean, Southern Utah is not a good team. They're 1-5, 0-2 in conference play. But Southern Utah has an extremely, extremely good offense. Josh Dye is really, really good. Bronson Barron is really, really good. They just don't have defense. They can't stop a soul. But Southern Utah can put up points. So not necessarily surprising that, Southern Utah puts up points on everybody. They just, on the other side of things, can't string together any stops. They can't stop anybody. Anybody. So Southern Utah is not necessarily a terrible team. It's just when it comes down to it, when the rubber meets the road, they can't do it. Okay, and then Utah Tech, they won 41-23. So most of their games they've won decisively, but it's that Southern Utah game where it's like, and then you look at their schedule. They haven't. Central Arkansas is 2-4. Chattanooga, I believe, is below 500. Army isn't even above 500. Portland State is defeated. Mississippi Valley State has not been good ever. I don't want to say ever, because they had Jerry Rice, and they were really good when they had Jerry Rice. So take what I just said for a grain of salt, because Mississippi Valley State, when they had Jerry Rice, I'm sure were really, really good. But then Southern Utah, 1-5. Utah Tech, I believe, is 1-5 as well. So they haven't really beat anybody of stature. So yes, and I do want to point this out about Tarleton State. When you play inferior competition, they should look inferior. And you look at Portland State, they didn't put up a point. You look at Mississippi Valley State, they only scored 3. You look at Central Arkansas, they only put up 10. You look at Chattanooga, they won 52-24. You look at Southern Utah, they won 52-42. But then you look at Utah Tech, they won 41-23. Utah Tech has been a better team this year. They're 1-5, but they've been much better than they've been in past years. So that 41-23 is a good win, I would say, for Tarleton State. But so from the standpoint of making lesser competition look less, they've done that. But you think about Southern Utah putting up 42, it's like, oh, what if you meet a team that has a really good offense and a good defense? They met a team with a good offense but a bad defense. What happens when they meet a good team with a good offense and a good defense? That's where it brings us to the numbers for West Georgia. Per the UAC, West Georgia is the number 2 scoring defense in the UAC, behind Tarleton at 22 points a game. They're the number 2 rushing defense in the UAC at 110 yards per game. That's really good. And they're the number 1 team in the conference in sacks. They have 19 sacks on the season. So for everything that this Tarleton State team is, they're number 1 in scoring offense in the conference. They're number 1 in scoring offense. Did I put scoring offense in there too? Twice? I'm mixed up here. The number 1 in scoring offense. This must be rushing offense, rushing. I don't know. I don't know what this is. I put a number on there that's confusing me. I don't know what I'm doing out here. Rushing, I think that's rushing offense. The number 1 in scoring offense, the number 1 in rushing offense, the number 1 in rushing defense. So they're number 8 in rushing defense, actually, and the number 4 in passing offense. But number 1 in passing defense, number 1 in sacks allowed, the number 1 in third down conversion percentage defense. I mean, Tarleton is up there with the best of them in their conference, and statistically, they're up there. They're up there. But West Georgia's not far off. The number 3 in sacks allowed. I told you number 2 in rushing defense, number 2 in rushing offense, scoring defense. So I think West Georgia provides a much needed test for this Tarleton team. Unfortunately, I don't know. I think West Georgia is like 25, or they might have dropped out. I think they were 25 in the stats, maybe, or maybe they dropped out of the stats after their second straight win or loss. I think they might have dropped out of the stats, but they're a fringe ranked team. They're receiving votes. So Tarleton State really needs a decisive win here. They really need a win by like 2 to 3 scores. Because if Tarleton State doesn't win this game decisively or even loses this game, there's going to be a lot of conversation. I mean, there's already been a lot of conversation about Tarleton, their previous opponent's record, all of that. But are they a contender or are they a pretender? We are going to find out this weekend. Looking at my time. Saturday will show if TSU is a real contender or if they've just benefited on an extremely easy schedule. This game will be the first two. Yeah, okay, so I already said all that. Yeah, so test for Tarleton State. I want to know if they're for real. Obviously, the injuries are there, so I don't want to look past the injuries, but if you're for real, it's time to show us. So, Tarleton State versus West Georgia. I cannot wait. That game will be played. That game will be played on Saturday at 6 p.m., so it's a night game after the Grizz game is over. Yes. And it'll be played in Stevensville, Texas. So Tarleton State gets a home game against West Georgia. They need to come down with a victory. Another game to look at as well as Abilene Christian versus Southern Utah. Abilene Christian is playing around with being ranked and beating good teams, but I don't know. They look weird. So, yeah. But Tarleton State versus West Georgia, you guys let me know what you think about that in the comments down below, and I will move on. Okay, it's time for some no huddle notes. First things first, I want to talk about UTRGV, University of Texas, Rio Grande Valley. They are facing off against Lamar. Lamar is undefeated against the FCS. Oh, there we go. Lamar is undefeated against the FCS. UT Rio Grande Valley only has 1 loss on the season. That loss came by way of Southeast Louisiana. UT Rio Grande played an interesting beginning of the schedule. They played Langston, which is an HBCU. They played Texas Wesleyan. They played Seoul, Ross State. All 3 are non-D1 football teams. But then they played Prairie View. They won 27-21. They lost to Sela, but Sela is 4-2, 2-0. I believe Sela's undefeated against the FCS. Sela's looked really good. So that loss, 45-31, necessarily isn't a bad loss for UT Rio Grande Valley. I remember initially when they lost that game, I was like, dang, they lost, and they lost by a couple of scores. That's not a good look for them. But when you really look at how good Southeast Louisiana is, that's not a bad loss for UT Rio Grande Valley. Any loss is bad, but that's not necessarily like a terrible loss. I think Rio Grande Valley could, I don't know. I don't even know if they can get, they basically have to win every other game because Prairie View is 1 FCS win. Houston Christian is another FCS win. Lamar, so what's that? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. At most, they could get 8 FCS wins this season because they already lost 1. So, I don't know. It's going to be tough for them to potentially become a playoff team. But Lamar, I believe, is ranked now. I don't have the stats perform right in front of me, but I know Lamar is ranked within that top 20. Maybe even top 15. I know they're in the top 20, but they're 5-1. But I don't think Lamar has been tested yet this season. So let's go look at who Lamar has played so far this season. But I don't believe they've been tested. I think it's been one of those things where they played North Texas. They lost 51-0. That was it. They won against South Dakota. That was what kind of made me start to pay attention to them. And then they beat Texas Southern. They played Central Arkansas in a weird game. They won 35-32. Nichols, they won 24-17. And East Texas, they won 33-23. And that was like they won on a last second touchdown. They ended up picking up a fumble and scoring it, but they really only won that game by 3. But when you look at their schedule, they haven't, and that's probably why a lot of people are hesitant to put Lamar in the conversation, is because they haven't really beat anybody up. They beat up Texas Southern 31-7, but every other game you look at has been within 10 points. They beat South Dakota by 7. They beat Central Arkansas by 3. They beat Nichols by 7. They beat East Texas by really 3, but it ended up being 10 on the final score. But they haven't really imposed their will on anybody, and that's really what you want to see from Lamar. That's what you want to see from anybody, and that's what I'm looking to see from them this week. So is Lamar the real deal? Is Texas Rio Grande Valley the real deal? This game will provide us all the answers. Next, Duquesne versus Mercyhurst, baby. Hey, we don't get to talk about NEC football a lot. I feel like I've talked about Mercyhurst more than anybody this year. Only reason I've talked about them so much is because they've played they played a bunch of good competition. They played South Dakota State. They played Montana State. They played a bunch of teams. They played Sac State, so I talked about that. But, man, this is the opportunity. This is the game, man. This is the game. I think whoever wins this game, I think is going to make the playoffs. I think whoever wins this game between Duquesne and Mercyhurst is going to be the AQ out of the NEC conference. So you got Mercyhurst is 3-4. Duquesne is 4-3. Let's look at their schedules. Duquesne has played Pitt. They lost. They played Lehigh. They lost. They played Akron. They lost. Their wins are against Lincoln, Pennsylvania, New Haven, Stonehill, and St. Francis. So they've won against other NEC teams, and I think some of those are independents in there. Lincoln, PA is obviously not an NEC team, but St. Francis, Stonehill, and New Haven, I think, are all NEC teams. New Haven doesn't count for the NEC this year. They're transitioning, but Stonehill and St. Francis are both NEC teams. St. Francis is 0-6. Stonehill is 2-4, so not terrible. That's pretty bad, actually. And then, so Mercyhurst, when you look at Mercyhurst, they lost to Youngstown State. They beat New Haven. They lost to Sac State. They lost to Montana State. They lost to South Dakota State. They played all 3 of those guys in a row. I mean, that's a tough schedule right there. But then they beat Long Island. They beat Wagner. And they play against Duquesne. I lean towards saying Duquesne is going to win this game just because they've been kind of the staple in that NEC conference. But I think this is going to be an extremely exciting game. I think Duquesne has a good offense. Mercyhurst has a good quarterback in Adam Urena. I think, these are the top 2 teams in the NEC conference to me. When you look at the NEC rankings currently at the top, well, actually Central Connecticut. I shouldn't even say that. Central Connecticut is a wagon in that NEC conference, and I think they actually got the AQ out of that NEC. But there's 3 teams really fighting for that NEC title, but all 3 are undefeated right now. Central Connecticut, Duquesne, and Mercyhurst. 2 are 4-3, and 1 is 3-4. So big time game for Mercyhurst and Duquesne. Big time game in the NEC this week. And I'm excited to see who's going to come out with the victory. But I think whoever is able to win this game, maybe not is the automatic for the NEC championship and the AQ out of the NEC, but I think they have a strong pathway to that AQ out of the NEC conference. So that is what it is. You guys let me know what you think about that. Finally, a look at the top 10 FCS teams and their resume. So Sam Herder dropped an article talking about the top 10 FCS teams. It lists all their ranked wins and their opponents' records, their previous opponents' records, and all that stuff. And something I'm particularly keyed into is the previous opponents' records. So North Dakota State, 3 ranked wins, 3 then ranked wins, 3 currently ranked wins, and their previous opponent's record is 18-13. South Dakota State, 3 currently ranked wins, 2 that are currently ranked, 19-12 is their previous opponent's record. Tarleton State, 0 ranked wins, 0 currently ranked wins, and their previous opponent's record is 10-26. Not strong. Next, you got Montana, 2 ranked wins, 2 currently ranked wins. Idaho, a little shaky, but 2 currently ranked wins, and their previous opponent's record is 18-14. Montana State, 1 ranked win, 1 current ranked win, and their previous opponent's record is 23-16. So that's probably one of the strongest previous opponents' records, but also Oregon is in that, so take Oregon out of that. What does their previous opponents look like? I think it's still maybe positive. I don't know. UC Davis, 1 ranked win, 1 currently ranked win. It's NAU. Previous opponent's record is 15-18. Lehigh has 1 ranked win, 0 currently ranked wins, and their previous opponent's record is 23-10. So really strong right there with who they've played. Tennessee Tech, zero current then ranked wins, zero currently ranked wins, and their previous opponent's record is 6-21. So the reason I'm saying this, let me finish these last two teams. North Dakota has one previously ranked win, has one then ranked win, and one currently ranked win. Their previous opponent's record is 13-18, and then you got Illinois State at zero previously ranked then ranked wins and zero now ranked wins. Their previous opponent record is 15-16. The reason I wanted to bring this up is because I wanted to talk about Tennessee Tech and Tarleton State. Now, I know I covered Tarleton State earlier talking about their game against West Georgia. I think that's going to be a very exciting game. But, man, 10-26. And the reason I kind of bring this up and the reason I've been talking about Tarleton State a little bit more lately is because somebody contacted me recently and was just asking, like, yo, is Tarleton State really a top 5 team in the country? Is Tarleton State really one of the best teams in the country? And I was like, man, like, I mean, they're undefeated. They have an FBS win. You know, like, they have looked like one of the best teams in the country. And, you know, they've been winning dominant. Outside of that Southern Utah game, I think the consensus was that Tarleton State really is that good. You see them play Southern Utah, and then people start questioning, oh, you know, they let them put up 42, knowing good and damn well that Southern Utah has a really, really good offense. Southern Utah can move the ball on the best of them. Southern Utah can score on anyone. So I wouldn't necessarily look at that and say, oh, like Tarleton State, but it is concerning. It is concerning, especially when you consider you look at their previous opponent's record at 10-26, and it's like, whoa. And then Tennessee Tech, same thing. I think Tennessee Tech, I know they're undefeated, but I can't remember if they're 6-0 or 7-0. I think they're 7-0. But they have no ranked wins, and then their previous opponents are 6-21. And I don't think, I'm actually going to look up Tennessee Tech now, but I don't think Tennessee Tech is really going to get tested this season. I don't think we see Tennessee Tech get tested all season. So they played Cumberland, Tennessee. They won 65-0. They played Chattanooga. They won 45-17. And I want to look at Chattanooga because I've been seeing them in a lot. They're not in this conference. What are they? Southland? Chattanooga. No, they're SoCon. Davidson won. They beat Davidson 72-14. They beat Tennessee State 35-8. They beat Western Illinois 66-20. They just played Charleston Southern, who is 0-3 in conference and 1-6 overall, and they won 27-13. So you really start evaluating these teams as you get to the mid part of the season. They play Lindenwood this week. It's not going to be they're 6-0. It's not going to be another test for them, but they play SEMO the week after that. I don't think that's going to be a big test. SEMO is 2-4 right now, 1-1 in conference. They play Gardner-Webb. That is going to be the only big test for this Tennessee Tech team is Gardner-Webb. Because then they play Eastern Illinois. They play Kentucky second to last week of the season, and then they play UT Martin. None of these teams are over 500. The only team in that conference who's over 500 is Gardner-Webb. Everybody else is at 500, meaning Eastern Illinois and Lindenwood are at 500. Everybody else is below. UT Martin, SEMO, Tennessee State, Charleston Southern, Western Illinois. So you look at the wins that Tennessee Tech already has on their season, and you're like, is this the number 8 team in the country? I don't know. Like, and that's the thing too, is because like this is one of the last remaining undefeated teams in the FCS, and you still have to question, are they really like that? Same with Tarleton State, which that is kind of the thing about the FCS, and it's really a bigger conversation about the FCS. But man, like when Tim Rosario dropped that article about the true contenders in the FCS, that was real. And that is serious. There are not a lot of teams who can contend for a national championship. I mean, if you look at how NDSU has looked this year, they have 3 ranked wins on the season. 3 then ranked wins, and those 3 teams that they beat that are ranked are still ranked today. 3 ranked wins. Nobody else in the country can say that right now. They have 3 now ranked wins. I don't know if anybody else can say that. I don't think anybody else can say that. The closest is Montana and South Dakota State, who have 2 now ranked wins. South Dakota State is really the closest because they had 3 then ranked wins. One of them has dropped out. They only have 2 now. But just like, I mean, man, it's serious. It's serious. And I'm so glad Tim Rosario dropped that article because I think it opened up a lot of people's eyes to like, dang, like as close as we may get, as dominant as we may be in our conference, as dominant as we may be against other teams in other conferences, it's only really tested when you get into the playoffs. When you get to those last 4, when you get to those last 2, like that's when you're really going to find out if you're there or not. And no teams have been able to measure up with any of the Dakotas, man. Unfortunately, nobody has been able to. The only team that's been able to was Sam Houston in 2021 in a what am I trying to say, condensed season in the spring season, but they won. Give them credit, they won. But nobody else has really been there. Eastern Washington was the last team to do it in 2010. Outside of that, Sam Houston, it's been North Dakota State and South Dakota State, man. That's it. And James Madison. James Madison got one in there too. But it's been desolate out here, man. It's been desolate. So just wanted to look at Tarleton and wanted to look at Tennessee Tech, because when you look at the other teams, they're near 500. I mean, there's only, outside of Tarleton State and Tennessee Tech, there's only 3 other teams that aren't 500 that don't have previous opponents with positive records. UC Davis, their previous opponents are at 15 and 18. North Dakota, their previous opponents are at 13 and 18. And Illinois State, their previous opponents are at 15 and 16. Everybody else has a positive outside of obviously Tarleton State and Tennessee Tech. So I guess it's honestly half and half. Half the teams have a positive previous record. Half the teams don't. The teams with are SDSU, NDSU, Montana, Montana State, and Lehigh. The rest have negative. Now, that is not the end-all be-all. Any metric is not the end-all be-all. Obviously, the games are played on the field, and that's where we judge them at, is when they play on the field. But, hey, big test for Tarleton this week. Tennessee Tech gets another cupcake, but big test for Tarleton State this week against West Georgia. You guys let me know what you think about these runner-up resumes. I didn't talk about them all, so please go look at that article from Sam Herder. He does a phenomenal job. That article is a great read, and he really breaks down what the resumes look like, the strength of schedule, the Massey rating, all that stuff. So please go check out that article through Hero Sports by Sam Herder, and I will move on. Okay, I want to thank you guys so much for tapping into the channel. I thank you guys for showing me love. I thank you guys for subscribing. I thank you guys for the views. I thank you so much for all the comments. I read the comments. I appreciate what you guys got to say. Let me know if there's anything else that you guys would like me to cover. If there's a team that you guys think I don't talk about enough. Obviously, we're talking Big Sky mainly, and then we're going to cover... A lot of times we're going to cover the MVFC after we cover the Big Sky. And then, you know, like we did today, we got into the UAC. But I'm watching it all. I don't always get to talk about it all. But trust me, I am looking, I am watching, I am waiting. I am looking to see somebody make a statement. But I'm watching it all. So I want you guys to know that this video has been brought to you by Sportsbet Montana, the exclusive betting partner of Akem'S Analysis and the Samuel Akem YouTube channel. So for all your betting needs, please go check out Sportsbet Montana. They are the exclusive betting partner of Akem'S Analysis, but they're also the exclusive sportsbook for the state of Montana. So anybody in the state of Montana looking to do some sports betting, go to Sportsbet Montana today. I thank you guys for tapping into the channel. I thank you guys for giving me some views. Like the channel, like the video, leave a comment down below, and more than anything, subscribe. It helps a ton. We're finally over 2,000 subscribers. The next push is 3,000, so let's get over 3,000 subscribers. We'll be there before we know it, but I thank you guys so much, and I will catch you guys next week. See you later.